Welcome to my new gaff. I've actually been living here for about 6 weeks now, and I'm going to continue to live here for a while yet. And as you can see by the title of this video, this series, I'm going to be doing up the place, and you're going to be joining me along the way as I restore this 1950s house, and we're going to also be diving into the history of British houses while I do it, because I think that would be quite interesting. Now, I should clear something up before we get into the real meat of this video, and that is, I don't actually own this house. The house is in my family, but I don't actually own it, but I'm allowed to do work on the place to make it a more comfortable and habitable place. But if you think I'm going to be tearing through the place top to bottom, gutting it and all of that, no, not going to be doing that. But I am going to be redecorating, making it more comfortable, and restoring as much of the original features of the house as I can. So with that out of the way, let's talk about the house. So this house was built in the mid-1950s and is a beautiful slice of great British suburbia. My grandparents bought the house just after they were married, and it's been in my family ever since, which gives me this unique perspective that I know the entire history of the house, and it still retains most of its original features. It has the original doors, the original door handles, original staircase, the original fireplaces, even in some rooms the original carpets and wallpapers. Now, my granddad moved out of here earlier this year. He's now downsized, and I'm living here now, and I want to restore as many of these original features as I can, while still modernising the home to make it a more modern house. Now, that's not to say the house hasn't been modified. It's been slightly extended at the back. It's got a garage at the side, and there's even a modern downstairs toilet at the front. Unfortunately, the house is showing its age a bit. It's over 60 years old, and there's quite a few things that need doing to bring it more into the modern age. Like the wiring loom, for instance. Half of the wiring loom is externally mounted in plastic boxes, and the other half of it doesn't work. If that's not scary enough, some of the light fittings in this house only have white wiring in them and nothing else, which is terrifying. That's not the only problem as well. There's broken floorboards underfoot, there's threadbare carpets that are trying to trip me up, and there is an entirely asbestos shed in the back garden that frankly I'm not touching. Right, it's time for me to show you around so you can have a look at some of the original features and also some of the work that needs doing in the house. Starting in here, the living room, where I live. So this is the living room, and it's the ultimate bachelor pad at the moment, but it's not really good for much else. The main thing this room really needs is totally redecorating, and I want to really lean into the Art Deco aesthetic, as a lot of the furniture in this house is late Deco, early 50s, and I think it'd be quite nice. I've never redecorated before, so that should be a challenge. But it's not just a lick of paint this room needs. The carpet is totally threadbare and needs replacing, the electrics are a bit dodgy, the wall lights don't work, the central ceiling light is not in the centre, but the biggest job is going to be this fireplace. This fireplace is actually the original fireplace to the house, and it's quite an advanced coal fireplace, and I want to restore it and use it as a fireplace. Most people have ripped these out, which means they're very rare now, and I'd like to see if I can get it working again. It does need a lot. The tiles are loose and need sticking down, the grate has long since gone, and the chimney flue needs lining for safety reasons. So this should be an interesting one, because as far as I'm aware, there is not a single guide on the internet on how to restore one of these. So this terrifies me. Now, there is the living room, but I'm not going to film that right now because it's completely full of stuff that by the time this video comes out will be gone. So I'll come back later down the line and work on this room, but it actually is going to be the last room in the house that's going to be done. So yeah, it's going to be a while till we see that. This here's the kitchen, and it's certainly a kitchen. I've got no complaints. My granddad built this kitchen in the late 80s, early 90s, and you can tell he was an aircraft engineer because there is not a single bit of wasted space in this room. Now, it doesn't actually need all that much work. The main oven doesn't work, so I think I need a new element, but the oven's so old I might not be able to get parts for it. The gas hob's a bit dangerous. You see, when you turn the gas down to low on the back burners, the flame just goes out, and I didn't know this, so a week after moving in when I was making some sauce, turned it down, went away, came back in here and the whole room smelled of gas, and I panicked. So I need to sort that out, that's a bit of a hazard. Now, my granddad built this kitchen and he was an aircraft engineer, but he actually never cooked. And you can tell that because when he built this kitchen, he built it the way he thought it should be built, which is why every single cupboard door opens the wrong way. Every single cupboard, all of them. My grandma apparently played hell with my granddad about this, but my granddad was convinced this is how a kitchen should be. Why, Grandad? I've broken so many nails opening these doors. This is my workshop. I have a workshop now, isn't it? A mess? Yeah. I haven't really had a chance to organise this space since I moved in here, and it's kind of become the de facto storeroom. Now, my granddad built this workshop because he wanted to restore stained glass windows, and actually did restore quite a few of them. But I needed it to be more based around engineering, so I need to adapt this place and really organise it so that I can restore stuff. I've actually got a bunch of antique tools and equipment that I want to restore so I can use it. So you're going to be seeing me restore antique tools, car parts, and even clocks, because I have so many clocks. This here is my garage. This is where I keep Jean, my 1966 Morris Minor, which you'll know from Project Daily Drive. Now I've had to move her out of the way so I can film in here, because when Jean's in here she actually takes up all of the floor space. You see, this garage is 14 feet long and about 9 feet wide at its widest point, and a Morris Minor is 12 feet long and 5 feet wide, so as you can see she takes up all of the space. Now you might wonder what's the point of building a garage this small, but the actual answer is it didn't used to be that small. The workshop you just saw is actually the back half of the garage. You see, my granddad built this space to keep a car in and a motorbike in the sidecar, as well as some other stuff. Because that's what my grandparents had at the time, that was their transport. Now, he did actually carve it in half later down the line to turn the back half into a workshop because it had a radiator and he could have insulated walls and insulated ceiling because, oh, it is so cold in here. It is so cold. I am freezing. I can see my breath. It is always cold in here because it's only a single brick wall and single sheet glass windows. It is freezing. It does mean it's a brilliant outdoor fridge, so I keep all my drinks in here, as well as all the alcohol, which I don't drink, so I don't know why it's there. Now this place needs a lot of work, probably the most engineering in the entire house. Luckily, the roof's already been replaced. This was done about 5 years ago, and it was a really good quality job. The old roof leaked quite badly, so nice new roof. The problem is, this place has got woodworm. There's actually woodworm in several places in the house, and it is driving me mental. But this is where it must have originated. You see, my granddad did a lot of wood projects and kept a lot of wood in here, and unfortunately, woodworm took hold in here and just ate through the place. Now, it's not so bad. It's winter, so it's kind of not active at the moment, but it really does need dealing with. I need to smoke bomb the place and remove a lot of these old wooden supports that are holding up stuff that's no longer there. Also, I need to do something about the window. You see, next door actually extended sideways and the window is now completely bricked up. Now, I'm not bitter about this, I'm not going to complain about this because my granddad gave them permission. That's not a problem, but I'd like to do something to board it over or just block it in because stuff gets stuck down there. I also really would like to do some high-level storage in here. As you can see, it's full of shelves and they're a mess. The whole room's a mess because, like I said, I just moved in. I haven't really had a chance to organise it, but I want to do some high-level storage above the height of my Morris Minor so I can store stuff in here safely, dry, and keep it out of the way, because this really can only be used for storage and keeping a car. There are some interesting things in here, however, like a spare Morris Minor engine that I need to rebuild, a spare Morris Minor bonnet, which I don't know what I'm going to do with, but also, most interestingly, a casting wheel pattern from the Bayer Peacock Locomotive Works. Yes, that is a steam locomotive wheel pattern. Now, I'm not going to tell you how it got there, but it is set to go into a museum. It's not actually going to be mine, it's going into a museum because that's the best place for it, really. It's so rare, but how many garages in the country have one of those in the roof? I must be the only one. Next, here's my garden, and as you can see, it needs an awful lot of work. This is probably going to be one of the biggest jobs in renovating the house because I'm planning on restoring this garden to how I remember it when I was younger. It was lovely, lots of well cared for bushes, there was 2 water features, a pond in the middle, and I don't know how to look after a garden. I can barely keep a cactus alive, so this is going to be a mammoth job for me. Probably the biggest job, however, is the shed. It's entirely made of asbestos and has to go. There's no trying to save it. Not only is it being made of asbestos an absolute health hazard, but the wooden frame is completely full of woodworm and it's sinking into the ground. Now, I'm not going to touch this. There's a professional who's going to come in and demolish it and take the asbestos away, and I'm going to build a new shed out of wood. I have built sort of sheds before, so I definitely know what I'm doing. But also I need to restore the greenhouse, and I'd like to make a little sitting area just out here covered over so I can enjoy the garden when it's raining, which is all the time, frankly. Up on the landing, it's a pretty bog standard affair. You've got 3 bedrooms and you've got a bathroom, but this is where some of the weirder features of this house start to appear. You see, it was an option back when this house was built, and this house has it, of having a split bathroom. You see, the toilet is in a completely different room to the sink and the shower, and I never understood this until somebody explained why. You see, when this was a family house, it was built as a family house, if somebody was having a shower, then somebody else could use the toilet and vice versa. There was no queuing up outside of the door. Now, this doesn't need to be like this anymore because there's a toilet downstairs, but I'm not going to change it. It costs money. You think I've got money? I can't even afford a haircut. The shower room part of the bathroom doesn't actually need any work. It's been completely modernised just a couple of years ago to be a walk-in shower. The old avocado suite went in the bin, so that's fine, doesn't need any work. But the toilet part of it, I hate so much. You see, not only is it carpeted and wallpapered, but both the toilet and the window are off centre. I noticed this straight after moving in, and I haven't slept since. But that's not all. Because this room is so small, it is tiny, there's no radiator in here. And you have to keep that window cracked open pretty much permanently in here because it keeps it smelling fresh. And because winter's coming, going to the toilet in the middle of the night is a bit,
Oh, that's nippy.
It's actually up on the hallway that you can see the multiple different options that were available to this house when it was new. You see, the split bathroom was an option. You could actually just have one big room, as evidenced by the beam that would have originally crossed where the door would be. But interestingly enough, one of the options that my grandparents never went with was that you could have little glass panes fitted above the bedroom doors. Now, this was fashionable in the 50s until the 70s, mostly because glass was cheaper than brick. In fact, my parents' house, which was built in the 70s, has these little glass panes. And let me tell you, for somebody who grew up in that house, they're awful. Get rid of them. They're dreadful. But you can see that these were an option in this house because right above the doors, it's hollow. This is my bedroom, and frankly it's a mess, but whose bedroom isn't? It's in dire need of updating. The wallpaper's peeling off the walls and the carpet's been stitched together. It's not great. I want to completely redecorate this room, but I actually have a full set of 1950s furniture, and I really want to lean into that vintage aesthetic and make this room a very nice, cosy space to be. But one thing I definitely need to get rid of is the floral pattern wallpaper, the pink walls, and the floral pattern carpet. Because as a manly man such as myself, frankly, it won't do. But I'll be getting around to this room after I've done some other rooms, because really it's not a priority. I can deal with this. It's not like anyone else is going to see it. Except you guys are going to see it. Now, the spare bedroom's pretty Spartan, but I'm not going to be getting around to this for a while because there's more urgent things to do. But I have plans for here. I actually have some antique bed frames that I'm going to restore into a proper bed for this room. But right now it's just a glorified storeroom, so it's not really interesting. But let's move to an interesting room. This is my office, and as you can see, it's the room that's had the most work. It was actually been completely remodeled because it used to have floor-to-ceiling bookcases and was painted bright orange. It's not a joke. In fact, the only vintage thing in here is my frankly enormous desk. I have my computer in here because I'm trying to become a freelance editor and documentary maker, and this is the most important room. I spend most of my time in here. But it's not anywhere near done. I've got these lovely old glass-fronted shop cabinets that I'd like to have on the wall for my equipment. I want to put some acoustic foam boards because the acoustics in here are terrible, and I want to put some shelves up for various things. Make this room a nice, cosy space. I do spend way too much time in here. So that is the house, with the exception of the dining room, of course. This is the house that you're going to be seeing me restore over the next coming months, and there's an awful lot of work to do, as you can see. But it's not just the fact that I'm going to be restoring the house. I also want to dive into the history of British houses themselves. How on earth did this design of house, what I think is the pinnacle of British house design, come about? What decisions were made, the engineering, the history, the technology of the time? I think it's going to be fascinating to look into. So it's not just going to be DIY because I'm terrible at it. We're also going to look into the history of homes. I have a film degree, and gosh darn it, I'm going to use it because Lord knows, right now I'm not really using it at all. Might as well just lob it into the bin at this point. But that's all we have time for today. I hope that you're all excited for this project because I am very excited for it. And you'll see me when I start to do work on the house once I'm actually moved in. Thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you in the next episode of this new series. Oh, that feels nice to say. See ya!